Ooh, I wish you did need some help. Ooh, Robbie and your wills. So, quick coffee in old McDonald's again. I got to start thinking about how to fill time without alcohol as well. I can't be doing that anymore. Oh, Nico, do you drink when you're like away in France and places? You're a rich man, mate. I love your car. Nico, you're loaded, Mr. Holloway. You're a lucky man. I've got to learn to budget. Oh, right. So, yeah, just off Somerset Way to Weir. Of course the sky's going grey. Hopefully off to the grave of Frankie Howard and his house. What shall I do? I think I've got another week off of about 20 quid. What can you do with 20 quid, eh? £7.50 for the bus and enough for a bit of nosh. You're stuffed, aren't you? Bonjour, and titter ye not, my little cheeksters. Still liking me old Frankie Howard t-shirt, eh? Well, I'm in the coaching village of Cross in Somerset, surrounded by the beautiful Mendip Hills. And like me, Frankie Howard was seen in the middle of the road around here, practicing his lines. Well, you didn't think I knew it off by heart, did you? Surely. And we start the story here, because I could have been Frankie Howard's neighbour, believe it or not. Now, I believe that is the house of my godparents, who I don't have anything to do with. So, if my parents had died, I presume I would have ended up here and one of Frankie Howard's neighbours. And I bet their house is worth a packet, eh? And there's a bus stop next door. Touch of luck. So I don't know if it's that house or the one next door. But it's basically one of the houses around here. So my godparents, I think they still live there too. So I could have been Frankie Howard's neighbour, titter ye not. Right, let's head off to Wavering Down, hey? Frankie Howard's Somerset house. He also had a house, I believe, Kensington way in London, which I would have preferred. I like that type of thing. And I would have been laid to rest at Golders Green as well, rather than down here. Then again, some people like seclusion, don't they? So let's start again. Let's continue, should I say, our story. We're surrounded by the beautiful Mendip Hills in Somerset. A little sign for Wavering Down Farm. Now you know I've got a piece of paper. Can I just whip it out? Do you mind? It's hell in the wind. It blows everywhere. Right, so on Webbington Road. Right, so continuing. In the 50s, Howard's was a regular comic film fun, and then started experimenting with different formats, Shakespearean comedy roles, TV sitcoms. He began to fall out of fashion and had a nervous breakdown at the start of the 1960s. He started to recover his popularity with a season at Peter Cook's Club in Soho. Rather special, isn't it? A bit like me and my Frankie Howard t-shirt. What do you think of it? Titter ye not, eh? So, just in deepest, darkest Somerset, I think it's Upper Weir. We're heading to Frankie Howard's grave, just there at St Gregor's Churchyard. I think it's Upper Weir, Somerset. So, just going to tell you a little bit about him as we get closer to the little cheekster's resting place. So let's head on, eh? Well, I tell you a little bit about him. Surrounded by the beautiful Mendip Hills. I'll show you closer later. Frankie Howard, OBE, 1917 to 1992. Born in York, educated at Shooters Hill, London. First stage appearance aged 13. After that he ended up failing an audition for the Royal Academy of Art, but began entertaining during World War II. He became a bombardard, a cheeky bombardard in Plymouth, and was promoted to sergeant. I couldn't imagine him as a sergeant, could you, old Frankie Howard? My God, he just wouldn't scare me. Mind you, he was a big cheeky chap, wasn't he? And on the 6th of June 1944, he was part of the D-Day landings, but was stuck on a boat off Normandy. He began his professional career in 1946 in a touring show called The Fun of It. For the Fun of It. He was soon on radio, December 1946 on BBC's Variety Bandbox. His screen debut was in 1954 in The Runaway Bus, and a long, fabulous career in TV and film continued. After decades of great entertainment, Frankie died of heart failure, 19th of April 1992, aged 75, the day before his friend Benny Hill died. Right, almost there. Let's see if we can get the old gate open, eh? And head on in. If you wonder where I hang out when I'm at a Western Suit Mare, this is one of the many places. Bath Abbey Cemetery in Bath. Bath is beautiful. When you get out the centre of Bath, it's amazing, the history and stuff. So this is where Godfrey from Dad's Army, the actor Arnold Ridley's ashes are interred. And there's VC holders, First World War soldiers. There's soldiers from the Crimean War in here. It's amazing, man. And it's not even, it's about a 20-minute walk from the centre. And look at the sun. It was due to rain, but of course it didn't, otherwise I would have gone to Cornwall. Lovely. So this is one of my many hideouts. I might end up living here rough one day as well. There's a little thing for the Crimean War. Sebastopol, Alma, Balaclava. Inkerman. Nothing about the charge of the Light Brigade, mind. Amazing, all the history in these graveyards. So just going to visit Godfrey from Dad's Army, Arnold Ridley the actor. Arnold Ridley, should I say. I'm going to watch Ghost Train tonight, I think. God, his picture's still up there, I can't believe it. I think I can still see his picture, or is it gone? Still there, and the cross is still there, lovely. Can't believe that's been there over a year, that picture. He's OBE as well, or actor, author and playwright. I saw him in Crooks in Cloisters the other day. I was watching Dad's Army this morning. Can't believe how quickly it gets overgrown here. Well, I got a girl, she's a loving machine. When it comes to loving, she's a queen. Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la. Ooh. Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la. Oh, look at that, and the sun's out too. I'm too tired to rock. So just entering St Martin's Hospital at Bath, Somerset, UK. So this is a spot where legendary Hollywood superstar, musician Eddie Cochran died. So roughly about 15 miles away from the fatal crash in Chippenham. If you go to YouTube, tap in the fatal crash site of Eddie Cochran and Gene Vincent, you'll see me there. And the funny thing is, there's a hospital right at the almost at the site of the crash site, and part of it looks quite old, but there must be some reason why they came 50 miles away here. So Eddie Cochran is good as died in Chippenham, so I believe he never regained consciousness. Driving must have been hazardous in those years, because his co-star, and the girl can't help it, James Mansfield, died of a car crash, and my hero, Mark Boland, well, this is 1977, Eddie Cochran was his hero, and he died in a car crash. So it's absolutely bizarre, isn't it, to think that superstar died in near where I live in Bath, Somerset, doing his last show at the Bristol Hippodrome, my local theatre, well, my local city theatre, you know. So I spoke to a member of staff here, a young woman, and she to think back in the time when Eddie Cochran died, this main building here would have had a couple of wards jetting off either side, and she presumes he died kind of roughly in these spots, one of these spots here, jetting out off this main building. We get a little closer there a second. Now there's just 2 steps to heaven. Absolutely fabulous, weren't they? They all were, weren't they? All great, all the old ones. Not like music now, eh? So this is the main building. They seem to think it was kind of at the end of one of these buildings, and old wards that have long gone now. This toilet's always a saviour. I'm in the graveyard where Harry Patch, the last Tommy, is buried in Monkton Combe, Bath. People can peek through though, look at that. I've heard of twinnings of cities, but they've got twinnings of toilets. This isn't a church. If it was a pub for a joke, I could understand. You know, when a town's twinned with another town, they've got toilets twinned here. And this one's in Kathmandu, where I've been, in Nepal. And another one, this toilet has been twinned. What's that about then? What the hell's that about? Oh, lovely. So I'm just in the church where Harry Patch, last Tommy, is buried. So I expect he had his service here, but don't quote me on that. Or he may have had a big service somewhere else, you never know. I don't know if there's anything about him in the... They should have something on the walls, but they haven't. Cut the big bells, mind. In the creepy old Monkton Combe cycle tunnels, they go on for 25 minutes. I think there's a bearded weirdo behind me. He looked at me and said, "Good morning," with a cheeky grin on his face. He was about 60. I'm not gay, by the way. I know how weird it is when middle-aged men. Good morning to you. Look at these crazy violin things playing here. bizarre. I better hot-foot it to the place where Eddie Cochran died before the cheekster catches up with me. Ooh. Good morning to you, sir. Can you see the balloons in the background? I saw them taking off from Bristol. I'm now in Bath. Cracking day, isn't it? So it looks like the tramp who used to live here is long gone. Someone said they still see him, so I'm glad to say he's still alive. He wasn't scared at all living here. And my mate's graffiti is starting to go from 5 years ago in August. It says, "We live on," from 2014. Love seeing all these old graves of people who died in the war. Just historic, do you know what I mean? So this is in love and memory of Claude, the beloved son of S&A Rawlings, who died for his country, October 1918. That's just a month before the war ended, isn't it? That's a shame. So much history in these places. Coming up to one in a second. You can actually, if you go on YouTube, you can see his battalion, black and white footage. So this is John Clare Cottrell, 10th Battalion, died at Westminster Hospital, May the 13th, 1917. Saying Canada as well. So if you go onto YouTube and tap in footage of the 10th Battalion, you'll see black and white footage of his battalion. I think they're practicing before during the First World War at their camp. John St Clair Cottrell, 10th Battalion. All a brave bunch of people, aren't they? Lovely. So I'm just in the graveyard where Harry Patch, the oldest Tommy, is buried. The last survivor of the trenches. It's interesting looking at all these graves. There's a fair few from the Royal Somerset Light Infantry, which is Godfrey from Dad's Army's regiment. Even in a tiny place like Monkton Combe, there's loads of graves from the First World War. They were brave, weren't they? Somerset Light Infantry again. What's this one here? Some of them say 1919, so he must have died from wounds, I think. And there's one of a boy grave over here. Brave souls, eh? So it looks like it's his lot, Royal Air Force, same boy, age 16. His number, boy, E.S. Hiscock, Royal Air Force, 21st April 1919, age 16. So again, I've presumably died from wounds. So just going to show you, I've shown you a million times, but so the grave of the guy at the time of his death, he was the last survivor of the trenches of the Great War, and he lived to a massive age. Go onto YouTube and tap in The Last Tommy, Harry Patch. There's a lovely documentary about him. "111 years old he was." So for some reason he was in a Cornish, it looks like he was in a Cornish regiment. It says Cornwall there. He was 111, and at the time of his death he was the last survivor of the trenches of the Great War. Quite a small grave, he should have had a bigger one. And another brave soul next door, this confuses me. He died 2 months after the war in Japan finished, but it's saying he was killed Monday, and that's he was part of the Air Division, I believe. 6th Airborne Division, and today's the anniversary of D-Day. You might be getting this a bit later because I'm on a ban for something ridiculous. So just at an old abandoned train station which was used in the film The Titfelt Thunderbolt, and I think the original Ghost Train film, some of the background was used in that. It's got an old timetable here. From 1949, eh? So you could travel to Bath all the way to Bournemouth Central, I think. I could go and visit Millstone, couldn't I? All long gone, eh? So yeah, it was called Millfield Station. The Titfelt Thunderbolt, a 1953 classic British comedy, which I believe had Sid James in. A bit of it was filmed here, yeah, Sid James. So yeah, the opening scene of the classic Ealing comedy Thunderbolt, it was first filmed by Ealing Studios, etc, etc. So the opening scene there. The opening scene in the Millfield Station could be seen in the central background apparently. Once a busy transport hub, not now. Yeah, oh, here we go. Other notable movie filmed locally were used in the first of the 1931 version of The Ghost Train, starring husband and wife team, blah, 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 written by Arnold Ridley. I've just been to his grave in Bath, Godfrey from Dad's Army. Ghost riders in the sky. Well, I tell you, I can't walk like I used to. I even had to buy a bus ticket. There's an 850-metre uphill walk. I used to be able to do it no problem at all, but now, oh, I'm falling to bits. So just in Monkton Combe, Bath. Rather special place. Oh, so much history, it's amazing. Just past the grave of Godfrey from Dad's Army, Harry Patch, oldest Tommy. Just been to film locations for the Titfelt Thunderbolt, absolutely amazing. And I'm at the God, what's his name? Nicolas Cage's old mansion house. Ghost riders in the sky. He did a film called Ghost Rider, I think. Oh. Shaped like a deck of cards, because apparently it was won once years ago in a deck of cards before Nicholas's time, I'm sure. And it's amazing here in the winter, like when you do the December walk, like they got a big chimney you can't see now, and you see all these plumes of smoke bellowing out like in a December. So once it was snowing, it just felt so Christmassy, do you know what I mean? I prefer the house to the right. See the church to the right? They've converted the church into a house. I went up there by mistake. And yeah, and they chucked me out like, but I managed to see a close-up of the church, and it was actually better than the mansion house itself. So think the Hollywood superstar Nicolas Cage used to live there. I didn't think much of anyone modern. I've just seen everything to death. I'm just off to visit where Eddie Cochran died. He was more of my cup of tea. I believe Eddie was a Hollywood guy in the late 50s, and a rock and roller, of course. Look at the cloud formation. So that's Nicolas Cage, the Hollywood actor's old mansion house. Lovely not to have a hangover, I can tell you. Listen to a bit of Unforgettable. What you are, unforgettable. That's what you are, Cheekster. Forgettable. How far? Brilliant, isn't it? Strum those strings by. I'll make you move. Stay. I tickle you, Cheekster. Forgettable. Forgettable too. So just at the spot, interesting spot, Bath's full of history. So just at the spot where Frankenstein, the famous book and film, was written. So Mary Shelley and Frankenstein, the novel Frankenstein was written on this spot, 1868 and 17. Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin, aged 19, arrived in Bath in September 1816 and took lodgings here at 5 Abbey Churchyard. That house was demolished to make way to the pump room extension in the 1890s. She attended scientific lectures by Dr. Wilkinson's in the Nilbah Kingston Lecture Room. He suggested that one day electricity might be used to bring matter of life. The ideal responded with Mary, who had recently experienced nightmares and thunderstorms inspired by her to write Frankenstein. Mary married the poet Percy Shelley. Wonder if he appeared in Blackadder, Shelley, one of the poets, eh? One of the poets. When she left Bath in 1870, much of the novel had been written. It was published anonymously in London in January 1818. Coincidentally enough, there is now a vault beneath the sign containing an electricity substation delivering thousands of volts to central Bath. That's interesting, isn't it? Frankie goes to Bath. Sacrifice, tell me it's not worth it. You know it's true. Everything I do it for you. There's no love like your love, and no other. Tra-la-la-la-la. You know it's true, Bones. Everything I do it for you. You certainly do, you Cheekster Brian. You certainly do. Give us a kiss. Lovely. See you later, Cheeksters. Mwah!